This video is sponsored by FCHQ. To learn more about FCHQ, check the description below to learn about how to get the PC app and join the Discord. This is an amazing resource for you to learn more about UEFN and Fortnite Creative 1.0. In this tutorial, we're going to go over how to create a Battle Royale island in UEFN. The map you see on your screen is the map we're creating today. Make sure that you check out the code on the screen before you get started to get an idea of the kind of map you're going to be creating. I'm going to take you step by step through the entire process. We're going to create an island, we're going to lay down an ocean, we're going to put down some lakes, we're going to put some buildings up, some landscaping, we're going to go all the way through setting up devices, setting up all of your game settings, and most importantly, we're going to get your map up and published. We're going to do that all in one tutorial. I hope you're ready to dive in with me and get your map created. So let's go. The first thing we're going to do is open up a island template, and we're going to choose the blank island. Now, for this example, I'm going to be creating a very small island. So I'm going to call mine Micro Royale. And basically, this is just going to be a really small Battle Royale island. You, of course, as you're making your islands, you're going to make these a lot bigger, and I'm going to explain to you those different settings here. The first thing you're noticing is the project name cannot have any spaces. So Micro Royale, you have to get rid of that space right there, and then you're going to go ahead and hit create. All right, once that loads up, for this moment, we don't need the player spawns. We can get rid of these grids as well. You just click on them and then hit the delete key. Once you've gone ahead and deleted out everything in your scene, you can leave these elements here in the middle. That's fine. If at any point during this tutorial, your workspace looks weird or it doesn't look like mine, you can always just go to Window, Load Layout, Default Editor Layout. This will go ahead and reset everything the way it should be, and that will match this tutorial. You're gonna go up here to the top left, and you're gonna click selection mode and go down to landscape mode. Now in landscape mode, this is gonna be very important that you choose the correct tiles for your landscape before you get started. So let's dive into this. Number of components, 8 by 8. What does that mean? I would say 8 by 8 is very similar to like a Kevin floating island or one of the original Fortnite creative islands that you would have had way back in the day. Now, if you wanted something closer to the newer thermometer islands, you'd want to go 16 by 16. For this example, since I'm doing a Micro Royale, I'm going to be doing a 4 by 4. So nothing too big here. You do not have to make something this small. I'm going to go ahead and hit create, and you're going to notice even 4 by 4 is rather big. So that's a lot of space even for a small Battle Royale. It's hard to get a essence of space sometimes because we don't have a character anymore. First thing I want you guys to do, we're going to go to the corner of our map. All right, so now that we're at the edge of the map here, what we're going to do is go into our sculpt tool, and we're going to go into a tool called noise. We're going to make sure that our noise tool is set to sub. And then what we're going to do is change our different sizes here. We have a brush size. So you can see here with the brush, if I make it bigger, it gets bigger. I would set your strength pretty low, guys. Mine's at 0.02. So 0.02 would be a great strength setting. Brush size is completely up to you. And what we're going to do now is we're going to slowly take the edges of our Battle Royale island and we're going to move it down into the ground. And the reason for that is obviously we don't want to have flat edges for our BR. That would look kind of weird. And before we go any farther, we want to have a sense of where the ocean is going to be in our map. So in order to do that, we're going to go to the content drawer at the bottom here, or the content browser if you have it popped up. And we're going to go to Fortnite, Environment, Water. You're going to choose Ocean. We're going to take Ocean and drop it down. Now, right away, the whole map just looks completely screwy, and you're like, whoa, what just happened here? We're going to fix that right now. Go to the top left, click on Landscape Mode, then click Selection. Click anywhere on the ocean. Then on the bottom right here, it's going to say Affects Landscape. It's checked on. We're going to say no. We don't want that to be true. Turn that off. All of a sudden, everything looks pretty good again. We can move up our water or move it down depending on where we want it. Here's another issue that I ran into. You're going to notice that this piece right here creates this big hole in the ocean. We don't want to see that. So what you're going to want to do is just take this, hide it under your map. So as long as that's hiding under the map, you won't get that weird hole in your ocean. But basically now we have an ocean, it's laid down. So now we're gonna go around the entire island, and I want you to just completely close off the island on your map. All right, and you're seeing here that we basically created a terrain based off of what we did so far, but boy, does this look boring, right? It's a square, first of all. So that doesn't look really attractive. We wanna go ahead now and kind of round out our island or give it some shape. So we can actually go in here and maybe make things a little bit stronger. We can also make our brush just a little bit bigger. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna just shape our island a little bit here. So I'm gonna get rid of this corner here, maybe get that corner to come in a little there, a little bit here, just like this. And what we're doing is we're getting rid of that horrible shape that was once there. And you see how quickly I could just come in there, create like a little bit of a bay area here. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is focus on beaches. We're gonna keep using this noise tool, and we're gonna go back to a really low, like a 0.01 strength, and we're gonna come in here and shrink this brush, and we really just wanna create a beach area. And so we wanna go up pretty high. We don't wanna get too close to the water line because that will lower what we want our beach area to be. And if we see stuff going underwater that we don't want to see go underwater, we can actually go over here and go to add. And add does the opposite. It brings everything back up. Now, this is a really rocky, jagged beach. I don't think I would ever want to visit this beach. So we have to fix that. The next thing we're going to do is head over to the smooth tool. And we're going to go over this now with smooth tool. So now that we have this carved out, what we can do is head over to the flatten tool. You're going to go down to flatten mode and go to lower. And now on this, the lower you choose your flatten tool to be, the level it will be. So if we start down here, and then we go up a little bit higher, and then we go up a little bit higher again, and then just keep gradually moving up, you're seeing that we created in just a matter of moments this really beautiful beach. Once again, the smooth tool is your best friend. You can come in here, smooth out some of those kind of ugly areas, and we got a beach. We basically have this beautiful beach. We're ready to go. We may want to do some last minute tweaks here on this beach, but for the most part, it is ready to go. Let's jump into painting just for a minute. Now we're going to look at paint. There's different types of paint here. This one right here, more of a dirt type area, so that might not be the best for what we're trying to do. There's another one though that looks like sand, and this one is going to be perfect for what we want. We're going to go through here and we're going to paint in our beach. So go ahead and choose how far you want the sand to go. I'm not going to go too far, so I think right about there is fine. And then what I want to do is create just a little bit of a transition. This looks a little harsh. So what I'm going to do here is go to smooth, and smooth will just create kind of a smoothing between the two layers. And it will give us this nice transition from the grass and into the beach. So now we have this cool looking beach. Once again, you can even lower it more if you want. Now that you've seen it, you can kind of go, oh, you know, maybe I want this to be a little flatter. You could even come back, flatten that out even more. Now we have other tools here. Let's take a look at them. We have erosion. Erosion is going to create kind of like a rip into the world here, right? And so I'm just doing that really quick. We're not going to keep those changes, but once again, if you go with a very low strength, right, something kind of low here, you can play around with this and get a different effect with each of these tools. All right, and this one just kind of creates, it's kind of the opposite of smooth. Okay, so smooth creates a smooth thing. Erosion will create like this down and dirty, rocky, ridgy environment. Hydro is kind of cool. Hydro kind of creates wear and tear on the edges here. This was our final touch here on the beach. We created this nice flatten area around the beach. And what we want to do is create a separation here now where we want to create a ramp that goes up. All right. So we're going to create ramp. We're going to go ahead and click here. Click at the top where we want the ramp to end. And then we're going to click at the bottom where we want the ramp to begin. And then we can play around with the width of the ramp and the fall off of the ramp. All right. So you can play around with this, see if it's something that ends up being what you want. You can hit add, and then just like that, you have a ramp. Then you can go in and smooth out the edges using that smooth tool brush. so it's not so ragged. And you just create a little bit more seamless here with the smooth button. And what's so great about the smooth tool, now it doesn't feel like a ramp anymore. Just in the matter of seconds, it just feels like it's part of the natural transition. The next thing I'm going to show you is actually a really helpful tip from the incredible Cape. This tip is going to show you how to get proper terrain leveling for your builds. So what does that mean exactly? Well, let me give you an example. If we go here and we place down a build, we're going to notice that the build on a grid snap, if you're making a BR, is under the terrain right now. And this grid snap tool, which we're going to go over in a second, is going under the ground there. So that's not good. That's not going to work for us. We have to make sure that everything is level when we start to build. What we need to do is go back to landscape mode. We're going to go to the flatten tool. We're going to turn on something called flatten target. Now, in flatten target, what Cape teaches us is that the height of a wall is 384. So if you set a height of a wall to 384 on flatten target, and you make sure flatten mode is set to both, when you start to use the flatten mode, what it's going to do, it's going to bring you up to the exact target of where you can build. So now if I were to head back to selection mode and drop down a build, it's going to be exactly where you need it to be in order to create a POI. Maybe you don't want one this high, but what we've learned is the level of this terrain is not the right level at all. So we either have to make it higher or lower. The other thing we can do is use some creative math and go back to landscape mode. Now our next target would be a flattened target of 0. We should have the exact same response, where if we put down a wall, it's going to be exactly the level we need it to be. So let's say you wanted to build something a little bit higher, right? So just to give you a little lesson here on this as well, we're going to go back to landscape mode. And remember, to go up one level, we're going to have to go to flatten target 384. But if we multiply 384, we get 768. So if we confirm that 768 and we start to build again, we're going to go up another level. If we go to selection and put down a piece, it will be exactly level for building. So what's awesome about this is we've now built on a low level, a medium level, and a high level, using this really amazing system that takes all the guesswork out of building. So a big thank you to Cape. We're going to use that method as we continue terraining. Now that we know what the leveling is going to be, this is going to be super helpful for us because we can decide, I want everything to be basically a level 0. And you have to make sure you click into this area here for it to take effect. And now that I've confirmed which building level I want to be at, what I would probably suggest doing every time is just doing a flatten target of 0. And then what you can do here is just flatten out most of your terrain to the 0 to start with. And if you flatten it out to 0 to start with, everything on this terrain is going to be buildable, all right? Is it going to look as pretty? Probably not. But we're going to get to that. We're going to finesse everything, make it look good. So then you're probably going, well, what if I don't want 384? What if I want to go lower? We can also do lower too. You can do negative 384. And if you do negative 384, you'll get the opposite effect. So on negative 384, if you come in here now and place this down, it will still be level, which is awesome. So what I'm going to do is actually kind of create like a little crater over here. So on flatten, we're going to put in a negative 768 value. If we put in that negative 68 value and we choose a brush size that works for us, I'm going to just put this over here in the corner. So a little trick I learned when you're doing craters, if you are top down, you'll get a more symmetrical crater. We just have this little divot in here that's really cool. So now we can build within this crater and we can even paint out this crater. You remember we did the painting on the beach. Now we're gonna go down just one paint layer here and get this nice dirt layer here. So now we've created this cool looking crater and this is all part of the BR experience. We're trying to figure out how we want this to look. We're gonna smooth out the edges here a little bit especially these rigid ones over here. We could have that this side here kind of just mellows out a little bit more. And I'm gonna go in here with the noise filter, and I'm just gonna try to create a smoother transition here. So now we've created these canyons. And what's amazing about this, guys, we've created these canyons all at building level. So every single part of this terrain is buildable. All right, and so there we go, guys. We've created this cool, very custom terrain. Now, when you're using the flatten tool, it's possible if you get too close to the edge, the side of the map will come back up. So you're just gonna have to go back to noise and make sure it's at the sub and just correct that once again. All right, and here we go, guys. We have ourselves an island for our battle royale. So next up in our tutorial, we're gonna talk about creating a small lake. So I'm gonna choose an area where I wanna put that lake. It's gonna be right here in this little divot that I've created. The first thing we're gonna do in order to create a lake is we're gonna go click on our content drawer at the bottom here. Then you're gonna head over to environment and water. From there, you're gonna choose lake and you're gonna drop it down. Now you're gonna notice right away and freak out and go, oh my gosh, it just put a lake down, it ruined all my terrain. This sucks. There's actually an easy way to fix this, so let's do that now. Just go back to selection mode, click on the lake, go over to the bottom corner here where it says Effects Landscape and turn that off. So now we're saying don't let the lake affect the landscape. I want to control where the lake goes and I want to have full control over the positioning. That's what I want to have happen here. Each corner of the lake has a control point. You can use it to kind of push your lake into the area that you want it to be in. All right, so we're gonna keep moving our controls around. One thing I've noticed is the lake, as you can see on the bottom right there, can pop out a little bit. So you wanna just keep moving around the lake until all of those areas are kind of hidden. So what you can do is anywhere on the white line, you can right click, add spline point here. What's awesome about adding a spline point is it gives you more control on the shape of your lake. So when you want to click on the entire lake, you're going to just click anywhere in the middle, and then you can grab the up and down to figure out where you want your water level to be. And then in the areas where the pond is kind of over spilling and not natural, we're just going to raise the terrain in those areas. So all we have to do is go back to landscape mode, then we can go to sculpt, and in that area, we're just going to go ahead and use the sculpt brush to raise the terrain. We need to build up the terrain to where the line is. So that white line, basically having it covered is a smart idea. There's grass in our pond and that looks a little weird. So let's go ahead and address that too. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go to the paint tool, and then under the paint tool, we're gonna select some kind of dirt. I'm gonna go with this darker dirt right here. And I'm gonna shrink down my brush size just a bit. You can go out of the water just a little bit there. We're gonna blend that in just a moment. So I wanna point something out as we finish up here. Let's say I slip my brush and I go up here. Instead of undoing that edit, which would kind of suck because I just did all that paint work, you can just hold the shift key and paint that back in. So what we're gonna do now is click on the smooth button under paint, and we're just gonna go through and slightly smooth out here. And so we're creating this beautiful transition from the green into the river. It doesn't look so unnatural. And later when we put some foliage in there, it will just look really nice. One thing I encourage is for you to just keep going back, making little changes. You'll notice I updated the beach here a little bit. You're gonna just wanna keep going back, making those tweaks. You can even make those tweaks after your map goes live, but try to make it look as good as possible before even going live. So we're now at the part of the tutorial where we're gonna start building. Here is a really cool way of building in UEFN, which is basically not building in UEFN. I find it to be a lot easier to build in Fortnite. So what you can do here, you can go ahead and launch session and make it an edit session. That will allow you to go into your new build with your custom terrain, and you can start building on it immediately. Then when you're done building on it, you can come back into UEFN and make any adjustments to terrain or anything like that. Now, in order to build in a live session, you're gonna have to click launch session at the top here, and it's going to load you into an edit session where you can build within Fortnite. It's actually going to launch the Fortnite app. Because I'm going to be using this for a while and I like to edit with controller, I get the luxury of doing that in edit mode within Fortnite. Now, I'm not going to show you building because this tutorial will just be too long. However, what I am going to do is give you some advice. Basically, what I'm going to do is go through and grab some prefabs. I'm going to use those prefabs as inspiration. So when you grab a prefab, the last thing you want to do is just put a prefab down like this and be done. Once you've chosen a prefab that you think is really nice, you can go ahead and grab that prefab. A nice little cabin in the woods prefab here would be awesome. So we're going to go ahead and just place that down in the air as inspiration. So now I have kind of the pieces that I might use for my cabin. However, I will not build it exactly like this. So when you're building a BR, you want to make sure that building as prop is off almost all of the time. There's no reason to have it on ever. You're never going to have it on origin edge or origin center unless you're doing any other game mode than a BR. But in a BR, building as prop should always be off. By doing that, you see we get a grid snap here. We can go ahead and find where we want to place this build down, and we can commit. Whenever I start to build something out, I usually just put all walls up until I get the basic design of what I want. So now you're going to see here that we've completed the build. One thing you should not stress about is the grass coming through the floor like this. In UEFN, this does look weird, but if you launch a session, the grass does go away on anything that you put over the grass. You could, if you wanted to, address this in UEFN if it's really bothering you. I have a little bit of OCD, and I know that just seeing it in UEFN can bother me, so it may bother you as well. What you can do here is kind of do a little bit of a paint here, and that will get rid of the grass. And for this, I think that's what I'm going to do. I made this POI complete. I added a bunch of things. I added a bunch of props. And I did this all within the edit session to just make it a little easier. The next thing I'm going to do here is create another bungalow over here. But what I want to do is find a brush size that works for me. And I'm going to build kind of like a little trail to the bungalow. And I'm just going to lead it this way. And to get an idea of where that bungalow will start, I can go to selection mode, click this. Now, if you want to make a duplicate of a piece, all you have to do is hold down Alt and click, and that will create a duplicate piece for you. And don't forget, if you check the top right here, you can see I'm a grid snap of 2. So being on a grid snap of 2, make sure that I'm in the right building space. So I think this is where the door will be. So now I know where to kind of build that trail to. And I think I'm going to do another cabin back here. And so I'm just going to plan that out. Once again, I'm going to hit that Alt key, and then this will be another one-off cabin back here. But you're noticing down here, our cabin is kind of going into the lake a bit. So even another great tool you can use is flatten, and flatten will just kind of build out that terrain for you. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add some pine trees. We really want to go ahead and make it feel like we are in the woods. So we want to get that woods vibe going. And we're going to use these chapter 4 trees. And the best way to do trees is to go to a grid snap of off and go to resize all. That way you can just resize the tree, place it down, rotate your character around so everything doesn't look the same. Also making sure drops are off is important. We want to add a lot, but we don't want to add too many. Think of it like this. If you were in a regular BR map and there was a build battle, you wouldn't want your trees to be so dense that people couldn't fight. And you can see here in just a matter of moments, we've given it a whole different feel. Next up, we're going to go ahead and label our POI. So in devices, we're going to grab the map indicator device. What I do, because these are pretty small, is I make them a little bit bigger just so they're easy to see. I place it over my POI. I don't use labels like that. I just simply set it up with a name. We're naming this Camper's Canyon. It's on our map. It's looking good. So now what I'm going to challenge you to do, you're going to go through your prefabs and you're going to pick a prefab that you like the best. And you're going to mimic that prefab, not copy it exactly, but you're going to take inspiration from it. So we're back. I've finished my BR. I want you to take a look at everything I added here. I added a POI over in the corner here called Meadow Mall. I also added another one called Crusader Crater over here in the corner. Okay, so now head on over to devices and grab the advanced storm controller device. We're going to go ahead and place that down. Once you've placed it down, go ahead and copy these settings right here. The only setting you may need to change is your phase 1 radius. You need to find out what radius your entire mini BR is. In some cases, it'd probably be more like 300 or 400, but because this is a micro BR, I made it as small as 200. Next, we're going to grab a storm controller beacon and place that down right above the advanced storm controller. You're going to see I placed these down in advance because I wanted to just have the settings ready to go. So just copy the settings for each phase. And we're going to have 5 phases total. So we're just going to keep copying and pasting this beacon until we get to 5 of them. And we're just going to adjust a few settings each time. Once you're done with the first beacon, just go ahead and copy and paste a new beacon. And then you're going to change that to phase 2 and then just copy these settings as well. Also, feel free to pause this video whenever you need to catch up. There's a lot of information coming all at once. So just keep copying and pasting each of these settings for each beacon. Next, you're going to grab an item placer device and you're going to copy these settings. From here, choose different weapons to put into the item spawner. The item spawner is going to be placed all around your map as just added bonus loot that you would not find in a chest, but you would just find these weapons out and about on the ground. It also helps to throw some consumables in there as well. You can do like a slurp juice, you can do a half pot, and other things as well to kind of just add those items that you can find on the ground. Once you're done setting up your loot pool, you're just going to go ahead now and place these item spawners all around your map. And so before you do that, you just want to make sure you have the correct loot pool. But you'll see here when you play the game, this is what it looks like. You'll sometimes get the same weapons, but it is randomized, so you should be getting different types of weapons as you run up to these random weapon spawns. Head over to devices again and grab the chest and ammo gallery. Once you grab that gallery, we're going to place it just anywhere on the map for now. I am probably going to use this ice chest, but I'm not going to use that chest right there or this kind of chest. Probably not also going to use the red chest. The ammo crates have been broken for a while, so for my map, I'm not going to add them right now. And I'll show you how to address ammo on a BR right now. But for the rest of these, I'm going to use these other ones for my map. Then the same process as before, we're going to go ahead and drop these chests around the map. Now, you may be going, yo, Pete, I want a custom loot pool in my map. I don't want these BR chests. I do have a custom loot pool video. I'm going to go ahead and link that in the description below. Let's go back into devices and grab a team settings and inventory device. We're going to go ahead and drop one of those down. And basically what we're going to do here is we're just going to go ahead and add ammo. And then we're going to go to the play button and we're going to drop that ammo into the team inventory and settings device. You're just going to drop a stack of how much each ammo you want. You'll see in the bottom right there, they were just granted their ammo and they're good to go. Go to devices and grab the player spawn pad. This is the last device we need in order to get our BR to work. So what you're going to do is drop the player spawn pad in here and just go ahead and turn visible in game off. That's the only thing you need to change. For every player you have in your game, you should add 1 player spawn. I have 16 players, therefore I have 16 player spawns. For this part of the video, go ahead and pause and copy all of these settings. I'm going to be rushing through them very quickly, so just keep pausing and copying all of these settings. I created an in-depth tutorial on how to publish your map when you are all said and done with your BR. I'll go ahead and link that on the top right and in the description below. If you're still looking for UEFN help, join the Fortnite Creative Guide Discord. It's a wonderful Discord. I'll put it in the link below. You'll get all your UEFN questions answered there. Like and subscribe to this video if you think I'm doing a good job. And until next time, take care.